I wanted to begin today with a very simple concept, but at the same time, strange. The concept is okay. The, the possibility that there is actually an interaction without any kind of transformation. So wherever there is interaction, there's transformation. So every time that two things, two phenomenon enter into contact between them, automatically they're both transforming the moment that they meet. Even if we see, for example, has it ever happened that you've been with someone and you've seen that if you're with someone, you see that the person acts differently depending on who they're with? I mean, that happens, right? Why does that person act differently around that other person, for example? Because there's none of us can exist in an autonomous way, independently from all the relations possible. So if I'm one person in one context, and then if I'm in another context, then I'll be different. If I'm with you, I'm one way. When I'm with others, I'm different. Not because I'm false, but because I don't exist independently from all the interactions and the relationships of that moment. I don't know if that's clear, because when I'm with you, certain parts of me activate. And when I'm with others, in other contexts, other parts of me activate, let's say. And we have this tendency to try to see everything as if that thing existed independently from its very complicated network of relationships. So, what does this all mean? I mean, we can spend hours talking about this, and I don't want to go in that direction. Once every action brings automatically a transformation, what I am today and what each one of you is on a physical level, on an emotional level, spiritual level, a cognitive level, on all levels, on economic, environmental, what we are is nothing other than the fruit of than all the other interactions that have come before, for better or worse. What does that tell us? That everything that I say is an interaction I transform. Every place I go, that's an interaction that transforms me. Every person I meet, every word that I hear, every image that I see, everything I read, every thought that I have, it's an interaction. And so I am constantly transforming. This transformation is very gradual process. I mean, the more I interact in a certain way, the more I transform in that direction. Just look at our body, for example. Everything that happens within our body transforms and interacts in so many different ways. I was reading a book that I was gifted, that someone gave me, about the breathing, and actually the name of the book is Breath, and or Breathe. I'm sorry. So it talks about the antique Indian traditions, and explained in a way that really helps the modern mentality, let's say. And it was saying, for example, it, it was saying how important it was to breathe correctly, and in this case, to breathe from the nostrils. many studies it cited, studies on children with ADD, for example, or people with very heavy nocturnal apnea um, that that weighs heavily also on or caused by heavy emotional problems, and these were cured, let's say, by breathing. And it even said, for example, just putting tape on your mouth at night. For example, if someone is forced to breathe from their nose at night, at the beginning it's difficult, but after a while, it resets the whole system, and one can be cured from this negative habit. So it says that every breath has a subtle effect on the entire system, and everything is connected to so many others. So the more I create, the more I go in one direction, the the more I transform myself in that direction, and vice versa. And the opposite is also true. Like the body, if I do a certain type of exercise, if I sit in a certain way, my body transforms accordingly. If I am always sitting hunched over and I never walk, my body is going to transform accordingly. So a very important key in our lives is our ability to transform ourselves with awareness and positively. So what we need is to find a lifestyle where there's balance on a mental level, on a physical level, emotional level, relational, a spiritual level, where there's just the right amount of balance so that we are well. And here, self-healing starts from a fundamental principle that our psychophysical state depends mostly on ourselves and not on others. We have this tendency to think that our physical state of being, emotional state of being, psychological state of being is a result of external conditions that don't depend on us, and as a consequence, we become the victims. We victimize ourselves. We say, "Oh, it's like this because that is like that, and this person's like that." And if it depended only on us, we'd be perfect. Our life would be marvelous if it depended exclusively on us. I don't believe it, actually. But let me give you a very simple example. In our body, we have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic system. How many functions depend on an autonomous system, and how many functions, let's say, depend on functions that are done with awareness. So does our body do more things automatically, or with awareness? I mean, do we have to say liver, do this, diaphragm, do that? Does anyone ever have to worry about these bodily functions of the organs? No, but we do have some that depend on our awareness, our own choices. For example, what we eat, how we sleep, how we use the doors of our senses, what I put in my mouth, what I put in my nose, what I listen to, what I say, where I go. That's what we can decide. And it's crazy how we're able to put all of our systems in crisis because of the very few choices that we make. I mean, the system is trying to do its best, But with the little that we choose, we stress heavily our body. It's not because it's my choice that it's the best for me or my body. We have this idea that, if it depended on me, everything would be, I would be perfect. I don't believe it. The fact is, I do have the power. We all have the power to be able to live in a way, to interact with things that bring more and more harmony and well-being. So my happiness, my state of balance and um, emotional, physical, psychological, environmental, economic, all of this depends on myself. My choices, my actions, my interactions depends on mostly on me. And it's like saying, if we look on a wider level and society, look at problems of war, problems of environment, and problems within our society. Is it Mother Earth that's horrible, or is it human beings that are not able to strike the balance? It's human beings. But is a human being some kind of generalized entity, or is it made up of every person? It's that same attitude that we have when you're in the car in the middle of a traffic jam and you complain about the traffic. Sorry, but are you not also part of that traffic? Has it ever happened that you've complained about being in traffic as if you were the only one who had the right to be on the road at that time and everyone else should be home? Have you ever had the sensation of the feeling of being a victim of traffic? But sorry, who's the victim here? We're all, everyone, right? Everyone and no one. It's simply, I chose to use the car, to go out in the car at that time, and so did everyone else. And together we created this traffic jam. And we think about environmental problems, for example, and everyone else. We're all part of the problem together. It's easy to say, oh, we shouldn't pollute, but then you take a plane to travel. It's not like you go by train. Like you take a plane to travel instead of by train. We all have a long list. It would be better if, but of course, it's very easy to think what others should be doing. We should look at ourselves. But my point is that all levels of being depend mostly, I don't mean exclusively, but mostly they depend on my choices, my thoughts, my actions. In other words, my interactions. And if every interaction brings a transformation, a key is to try as much as possible to interact in a positive way, a way that brings the transformation towards what we want to become. The more healthy I eat, the greater my habit of eating healthy is, and the healthier I become. The more I speak in a certain way, or the more I act in a certain way. We are made up of habits. So, among all of the objects of interaction, the greater the interaction, the greater the transformation. Among all the objects of transformation, we have 6 types. What we see, what we hear, so form, sound, smell, touch. So we have the 5 senses plus the sense of mind, the thoughts. Among these 6 sensory objects, which one do we interact with the most? What we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we touch, or what we think? what we think. I mean, they're omnipresent basically. But if every thought is an interaction, it means that I am transforming myself. And the key here is being able to interact with objects that are beneficial to us. When we imagine something, here, look at the power of a thought, for example. When we imagine something, our system, all the automated part of our body, lives that imaginary object as something concrete and real, or something unimportant and worthless. It's something real. For example, we have a very important system. We have the system that regulates our stress. It's fundamental. For example, we're in a situation that we consider a danger. I find myself, I'm in the middle of the forest and the tiger comes or some danger arrives. My system activates and says alarm, alarm, red flag, there's a danger. And what happens in our body when we recognize a danger? Our body activates to face the danger. Cortisol activates, it raises our senses. Our senses become much clearer, and other parts of our brain shut down so that we can, fight or run. So after about 90 seconds, that's the time that physically the body needs to see if that danger is still there or not. If it's no longer there, then our system actually calms the body down to bring it to the previous state of rest. This is incredibly important for our own survival. But the most interesting thing, if I have an object that is an actual tiger, or someone who could hurt me, or something that's falling, or if I'm meditating in the garden and I see that the tree is about to fall where I am, I need that reaction. I can't say, "Oh, tree, just stay there." No, the tree is falling. I need that jolt of cortisol and the ability to jump up and move. Okay, that tree fell and I didn't hurt myself. I remember here at the center, right, there was the reception. Bebel was there in reception, and her companion Badu, who was now in Brazil, he was walking in front and she was inside working, and there were many pine trees. You can see that there's still some very tall pine trees, and they're not from here. Actually, the roots are not very. They're not. And they're not very deep. And so she was watching the tree fall on top of him. She couldn't do anything because she was inside, and luckily the tree fell on top of him, but he stayed among the larger branches. So, but when you're in danger, we need that. We need to be activated so we can get out. So it's interesting. So even if the danger is imaginary, the body reacts in the same way. So if I'm home, protected, and nothing is happening, but I start worrying, and if this happens, and if that person does this, and if that, this, that, and the other, and I generate worries, our system activates with the same kind of alarm of danger with the cortisol. And after 90 seconds, is that danger still there, even though it's still imaginary and not concrete? But then the system continues to activate to stay in that heightened state of awareness and stress, and that creates chronic stress. Some people can stay for years like this, creating just wreaking havoc on the body and mind. I'm saying all this because it's part of our modern times. We live in a more dangerous era today compared to the cavemen. The ones, I mean, at that time, I mean, there were wild animals, and one needed to protect oneself from the cold and elements, but one didn't worry so much. Instead, today, all the worries we have economic problems, we have pressure at work, we have the fear of change, we have the worry of wars. So I heard someone say that they didn't want to leave. They don't want to leave their house because they're afraid that migrants are going to then come in and be squatters in their house. You know, everyone has their own worries. What's interesting is that the body reacts as if that imaginary threat, well, towards that imaginary threat, it reacts in the same way as it would in front of a tangible, actual threat. And the good news is the opposite also works. When I'm in a context where I feel loved, taken care of, and sure, the body reacts, doesn't it? And if I think that I'm in a safe place and I'm able to induce a situation where I feel balanced and safe and loved, my body will act accordingly. So our mind has a power of transformation of ourselves that's enormous, because the thoughts that I have, the body reacts with that reality, and that brings me transformation and to interact with my surroundings. And something that's important for us is to learn how to create virtuous interactions, starting with our own minds. And this is how the self-healing practice works. One of the main points. We come into contact, simplifying, excuse me if I use the word archetype, it's more than that, but the archetypes that represent our qualities that don't have form. We enter into contact with patience, gratitude, love, compassion, generosity, stability, spontaneous joy, concentration, harmony, wisdom, inner space. And the more I enter into contact with these states of being, the more I transform myself like that. Right? So it's interesting to see that it's much more important in our lives what I imagine than what on a material physical level actually is. In the way we live things is much more important than what we are actually living, because our system on a physical level, I'm talking about physical health, reacts not to what is, but how we live it. And if we're able to induce virtuous and healthy states of being that help us transform positively, naturally that takes us to that positive transformation. Now, before we do the practice together, we'll do some breathing exercises together, because if we're not able, first of all, to bring a minimum amount of presence in this present moment, then normally what happens that one, just as one's finishing the practice, one feels ready to to start meditating, to do it. Instead, if one is able to breathe, work on being present, that is a wonderful basis to do the practice well. I am not going to explain the practice of self-healing, obviously, right now, because we'll finish in a couple days and not this afternoon. And today, the objective is not to explain the practice, but to do it. The actual title, self-healing, Lama Ganchen explained clearly that our happiness and our suffering depends on us, and it's up to us to pick up the reins in our own hands. And one of the first things to be able to self-heal is to breathe well. In this book that I mentioned before, it talked about an English researcher in the 1800s who traveled throughout the United States of America, and there were many native Indians and tribes there. And he said that all their teeth were perfect and their health was wonderful. And even though they had many different tribes with different cultures, what they had in common among all of them, they thought that breathing from the mouth was like poison. And they said that in one of these tribes, they didn't like to breathe. They didn't like to smile with their mouth open because they didn't want to even try to inhale any air from the mouth. And many other tribes in the Amazon, for example, it was also seen that breathing from the nostrils was essential to one's health. So, so what? So even a child after breastfeeding, the baby finishes to take milk, and then with it resting stays with the mouth open, and then the mother would just gently close the baby's mouth so that they learn right from the beginning to breathe from their nose. There are many health problems that are linked to breathing from the mouth and that shallow breath. So today I'd like to start with these breathing exercises. And we can say the first tool of self-healing is about breathing correctly, breathing well. How many times do we breathe in one day? According to Indian, to Tibetan studies, it's 21,000, or modern studies say 25,000 times a day. Well, whatever it is, if we start breathing with awareness, there's a tremendous power to benefit us. And in the next couple of days, we'll talk more about this. Instead, now we'll do the practice, first of all, these breathing exercises, and then the practice of self-healing that I will guide. So we sit in a comfortable position with our back straight but not tense. Our shoulders are relaxed. Our head is slightly forward. Our mouth is relaxed. Our eyes are slightly closed, looking downwards. We'll begin by simply watching our own breath. We allow ourselves to observe the air that comes in, the air that goes out. Simply, we allow ourselves to observe the physical movement in our body as we inhale and exhale. We don't force our breath and we don't judge. We simply watch. As we watch, observe, we see if our breathing is superficial or if it's deeper. Are we breathing from our belly or from our chest? Is our breathing is it harmonious or not? We simply observe. We observe the movements of our diaphragm, our abdomen, our chest. We simply observe our breathing. Little by little, we bring our breathing to an abdominal breathing. So when we inhale, it's as if we swell up our belly and we breathe in as much air as possible. And little by little, as we exhale, we empty our belly as much as possible until we actually are tightening up our abdomen. So inhale deeply and exhale deeply. So inhale deeply and exhale. To bring our attention to our breathing, not to our nostrils, but to our abdomen, as we inhale and then exhale. deeply. Our abdomen that swells up as we inhale and empties out and tightens up when we exhale. Now, gently as we inhale, once we've finished a cycle, once we've inhaled all the air in our abdomen, then we keep going and fill up also our thoracic cage, our upper chest, until there's the slightest raising, lifting of our shoulders or clavicle. And then when we exhale, first we exhale the air from our upper body and then our abdomen until we tighten our abdomen muscles. So we inhale and fill up our abdomen, our belly, and the one flow, one breath, we keep inhaling until we fill up also our upper body. And when we exhale, we empty out first the upper part of our chest, and then our abdomen until we tighten our abdomen. Inhale. And exhale. When we inhale, we count up to 4, and when we exhale, we also count up to 4. So inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Gently, we expand on our inhale and we'll expand on our exhale. So we inhale counting up to 4, and we exhale counting up to 8. Inhale and exhale. For those who feel comfortable doing so, then you hold the air without forcing, as long as it's comfortable. Inhale 4, hold 8, and exhale in 8. And then we will then also hold 4 before we inhale again for 4. So inhale 4, hold 8, exhale in a count of 8,
trattengo in 4,
and hold for 4.
inspiro 4,
Inhale 4,
trattengo 8,
hold for 8,
espiro,
exhale in a count of 8,
trattengo 4,
and hold for 4.
inspiro,
Inhale.
inspiro,
Inhale 4, hold for 8,
espiro 8,
exhale in 8,
trattengo 4,
and hold for 4.
inspiro 4,
Inhale for 4.
manteniamo la concentrazione,
We keep our awareness on our breath, and we visualize our body like a body of light, transparent, weightless, and bright.
nello spazio
And in the space in front of us arises Guru Buddha in the aspect of our own Guru as Buddha Shakyamuni. Guru Buddha, inseparable from every holy being, smiles at us. From his 5 chakras. In his 5 chakras are the 5 Dhyani Bhutas. We take refuge in Guru Buddha. We generate the intention to help every being get out of his own suffering. And for this reason, we will now do the practice of Nalso Tantric self-healing with the intention of developing our own qualities, of overcoming our own mental defilements, to help every being get out of his own suffering.
Namo Guru Bhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guru Bhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guru Bhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Tri Radnaya Sangye Chodan Tsoge Chonamla Jancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drubra Sho Sangye Chodan Tsoge Chonamla Jancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drubra Sho Sangye Chedan Tsogi Chonamla Jancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Son Pinchra Sangye Drupar Sho Nel Buddha.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. With the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Locho sampo pa gyuta shi pa tu che tempe trin le yarmo da pelghe dro lor zampe ze parce pal den la me shabla solvade Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Muni Shasane Karman Utavardanye Shri Bhadra Varasamanya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Shasane Karma Utavardanye Shri Bhadra Varasamanya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Muni Shasane Karma Utavardanye Shri Bhadra Varasamanya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Buddha Siddhi Hum Om Shuddha Swaha. Eho Shuddha Swaha. Yamaho Shuddha Swaha. Ram ho Shuddha Swaha. Am ho Shuddha Swaha. Bam ho Shuddha Swaha. Eya Ram Lam Bam. Shuddha Swaha. Om Swabhava Shuddha Sarva Dharma Swabhava Shuddha. Pam lepe machanku, pama lepe maserpo, pama lepe mangompo, pam lepe mamarpo. Amlepe makarpo. Om ahong tramari. Rile natso dorje changuri. Tramale norbu serpo tram. Hong le dorje ngompo hong. Alepe mamarpo am. Om le korlo karpo om. Om korlo nanse dorje ape mache. Hong dorje mi que dorje tram norburin chung dorje rinazzo dorje toyen dorje. Lama toyen dorje kin.
At my secret chakra, with the blessings of the Supreme Healer Guru Buddha Amoghasiddhi, green in color with the mudra of non-fear, we purify all negativities related to the secret chakra in the form of dark green Garuda birds, dark smoke, and dirt. Especially, we completely eliminate all forms of fear, jealousy, envy, doubt, uncertainty, and all sicknesses related to the secret chakra. They are completely eliminated. We receive all the blessings of Supreme Healer Guru Buddha Amoghasiddhi in the form of green light rays and nectar that fill up our body. bless us, revitalize our qualities. We develop the power of realization, the happiness for the happiness of others, the power of rejoicing, the all-accomplishing wisdom, the certainty of every action, the pure aggregate of um, all-accomplishing the factors, our personality in a pure form.
Om Amoga Siddhi Hum. Om Amoga Siddhi Hum. Om Amoga Siddhi Hum. Om Amoga Siddhi Hum. Lama Rinpoche Dorje Kien.
At our navel chakra with the blessings of Supreme Healer Guru Buddha Ratnasambhava, yellow in color with the mudra of supreme generosity, we purify all negativities related to our navel chakra in the form of dark yellow horses, black smoke and dirt. Especially, we eliminate completely all forms of arrogance, this sense of superiority, miserliness, material, spiritual, and all the sicknesses related to the navel chakra. They're completely eliminated. We receive all the blessings of Supreme Healer Guru Buddha Ratnasambhava in the form of yellow light rays and nectar that fill up our body. Bless us. Revitalizing our qualities, we develop humbleness, generosity to give materially, to give love, protection, to give the Dharma, the spiritual path. We develop the wisdom of equality and the pure aggregate of sensation and the sacred action of prosperity, of increase.
Om Aratna Sambhava Hum. Om Aratna Sambhava Hum. Om Aratna Sambhava Hum. Om Aratna Sambhava Hum. Lama Michel Dorje Kien.
At our heart chakra, with the blessings of Supreme Healer Guru Buddha Akshobhya, blue in color with the mudra of stability, we eliminate all negativities related to our heart chakra in the form of dark blue snakes, black smoke and dirt. Especially, we completely eliminate anger, hatred, resentment, nervousness, impatience, sadness, depression, and all the sicknesses related to our heart chakra. We purify them completely. We receive all the blessings of Supreme Healer Guru Buddha Akshobhya in the form of blue light rays and nectar that fill up our body and bless us. Revitalizing our qualities, we develop love, compassion, patience, inner stability, spontaneous joy, the pure aggregate of consciousness and the wisdom of the Dharmadhatu, the mind in the pure state.
Lama Michel Rinpoche
At our throat chakra, with the blessings of Supreme Healer Guru Buddha Amitabha, red in color with the mudra of meditative concentration, we completely eliminate all negativities related to our throat chakra in the form of dark red hens, black smoke and dirt. Especially, we completely eliminate our unlimited attachment, unlimited desire, dissatisfaction, the lack of concentration, violent speech, and all the sicknesses related to the throat chakra. They're completely eliminated. We receive all the blessings of Supreme Healer Guru Buddha Amitabha in the form of red light rays and nectar that fill up our body and bless us, revitalizing our qualities. We develop satisfaction, concentration, holy speech, the pure aggregate of discernment and the wisdom of discernment, and the sacred action of positively influencing.
Lama Nangze Dorje Kien.
At our crown chakra, with the blessings of Supreme Healer Guru Buddha Virochana, white in color, with the mudra of wisdom, we completely eliminate all negativities related to our crown chakra in the form of black pigs, dark smoke and dirt. Especially, we completely eliminate our ignorance, closed-mindedness, the lack of inner space, the erroneous view of self and of phenomena, and all the sicknesses related to the crown chakra. They are completely eliminated. We receive all the blessings of Supreme Healer Guru Buddha Veruchana in the form of white light rays and nectar that fill up our body, revitalizing white light rays and nectars, revitalizing our qualities. We develop wisdom, infinite inner space, correct view of reality, the pure aggregate of form, our body on a gross and subtle level that is absolutely pure, the mirror-like wisdom and the sacred, the, the pure aggregate of form, and the wisdom, mirror-like wisdom, and the sacred action of pacification.
Om Aveirochana Hum. Om Aveirochana Hum. Om Aveirochana Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Ri. Me Hum. Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Ri. Om Mahasukha Hum. Om Mahasukha Hum. Om Mahasukha Hum. Om Mahasukha Hum. Om Mahasu Om Vishwashanti Hum. 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 Lama Kuncho Sumla Kyab Sochi Rang Nila Sedo Tril Sungane Che Dong A Che Sung Nyer Che Ta Da Dom Kundu Chi Shinro Ten Chi Dorna Ditsu Nam Krage Wetso Cinye Sapate Inyurtuda Norbo Panzo Shambal Harakene Lame Lamgirimpa Chinsho Om Michi wetse ma tongwa na te ime la mi kyo dorje ku se wa tong ne chi da pa chom te chi me rik si nyur tu to par sho ni modele tsendele ni me kun yandele kshin Nien tak to delekpe concho sum ki chingilo concho sum ki ngodrubotsol concho sum ki trashisho.
At dawn or at dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.
At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and spring all the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.
In this way, we have concluded the practice of self-healing. I'd like to remind you that the first thing that we should do, the first thing to do for something to happen is desiring it. So when we want something, we need to allow ourselves to imagine it actually happening, has a special power, and self-healing allows us to desire to dream about who we want to become, who we want to be, with all the qualities, the stability, love, patience, satisfaction, wisdom, etc. So I invite you to do the practice of self-healing when you want, when you can, and in all the different ways possible. In silence, with melodies, without melodies, with the mudras, without the mudras. You can do it quickly, you can do it slowly. There are many, many different ways to do this practice. But it's very important for us to do it, to interact, so that we can little by little transform. And one realizes it over time. One sees the changes once they've come about. It's a slow process, and it can happen that for someone at the beginning, one feels very good doing the practice, and then after a while, maybe doesn't feel that as much, because often to heal something, we need to see it. I mean, the shadow needs to be seen so we can bring the light there. So this process of healing is not always pleasurable. And sometimes there's the process of seeing our own shadows, seeing our emotions that we knew that they were somewhere there, but we kept them hidden or at bay. And when they come out with more clarity, at that point we can do nothing other than face them. And when that happens, it's not easy, it's not pleasurable, but necessary when we're able to really take advantage of this. And doing the practice, one little by little, one understands more and more. We've explained it many times, and recently we gave extensive teachings also last winter, and these videos are also available. So I invite you to study, to read each part, to go back and listen, watch the videos, so that you can understand little by little. The first level is how to recite it, how to do the mudras. It's more superficial but important. And then what to visualize, and then gradually what inner state of consciousness we should develop, and then we put all those together, and until we get to the point where we're practicing without actually doing the practice, meditating when we're not sitting down meditating. So one more time, I just like to remind you to breathe with awareness, and even if it's just the abdominal breathing, that's that's deeper, that will naturally activate your parasympathetic system. Instead, if you breathe just from your chest, that actually activates that flight or flight um, process. One study actually says that um, that even wearing clothes that are tight around our waist actually force us to breathe from our chest, which is more superficial, and that brings us to have a tendency to to be more speedy and more anxious and stressed. And there are many other things, but now's not the time. I just wanted to remind you to keep your awareness on your breath, to do the practice of self-healing. Tomorrow we have teachings. It's the introduction to Buddhism, and we'll have all week for teachings, and then followed by the retreat of Kurukule. We'll have many opportunities. And at the end of August, there's also a rich program. Let's try to keep this awareness and remember that we are practicing we're doing something, transform ourselves, even when we're not doing anything specific, because if every interaction brings a transformation, every time I meet someone, I eat something, I hear something, I listen to something, I say something, I do something, I'm constantly interacting, and as a consequence, I'm constantly transforming myself. And so we shouldn't be protecting ourselves or cutting ourselves off from the world, but interacting in a positive way. So it's time for our final dedications.
Jetsun lame kutse rapten chin namkar tinle chokchur gepa dan losan tempe drume sasumgi drove munsel tatu ne gyur chi kewa kuntu yanda lama dan drame cheki pela longche chin sadan lamge yunten rabzo ne dorje changi kopa nyurtobisho nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delek shin ninsen takto delek pe kuncho sumki chingi lob kuncho sumki ngodrubutsol kuncho sumki trashisho alalba.
At dawn or at dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us obtain all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.
At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Vajrapani Hum. Om Vajrapani Hum. Om Maritse Mama Swaha. Om Maritse Mam Swaha. Om Maritse Mam Swaha. Om Maritse Mama Swaha. Trascidile. Grazie a tutti.
Tashidilek, thank you everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.